everybody, welcome to Get Busy Watching! I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. John Boyega is a drug dealer that gets shot, presumably dead, but wakes up the next day fit as a fiddle. He and a pair of associates venture to discover what happened to him and find out there's a super secret lab under their city cloning people for unknown purposes. This was a lot of fun. Some of it obviously goes a little over my head, but for the most part, I really liked it. There's definitely a slow burn in the first act, setting up Boyega's character, the support cast Jamie Foxx and Teyonah Parris, both of whom steal the show, by the way. Because of that, the burn is tolerable. Once you get to the meat of the story, the intrigue, the WTF factor hits hard, and you're left wondering what's happening next. What's great about the writing is that every answer it gives, it leaves you with more questions. And that ratio of answers more questions is done at a reasonable pace. And of course, the incredible charm of both Parris and Fox carries the in-between stuff so well. The only real downside is that I feel like when you finally get the answers that's supposed to make you go, oh wow, that's insane, feels more like a discombobulated version of something racism, but not really racism, Illuminati, white people bad, I don't know, I couldn't follow whatever cockamamie crap the bad guy said. Even reading the Wikipedia plot didn't help any. That doesn't really matter though, because the rest of the flick is so much fun, I don't care. It definitely leaves room for a sequel, but I don't think I really want one. The ending is so ambiguous and so juicy that I don't know how you could ever give it a satisfying resolution. So I don't want one. But not gonna lie, I would love to see these three actors team up again. It's funny, it's charming, even if the bad guy motivations don't really make sense. My honest rating for They Cloned Tyrone, a strong 4 out of 5.
Off to see the wizard again.
Jason Statham is back to fight ancient sharks, more than one this time, starting off in their home turf before fighting them as they attack innocent people. It exists. Not the worst, but man do I pine for the days of good shark movies. I will say that I appreciate that the first half of the flick takes place in the titular trench where the megalodons call home, and we get a bunch of ancient monsters for the human characters to fight or get eaten by. To be fair, that stuff is pretty fun. Pretty colors and all. Even though one has to ask how these creatures haven't evolved in the last millions upon millions of years. But as my summary may suggest, Statham and his survivors eventually escape to the surface, and here's where things get mediocre. Human baddies with guns, corporate sabotage, annoying kid characters that seem straight out of Lost World Jurassic Park, and then 3 Megs terrorize innocent people at the lazily named Fun Island. No violence worth speaking of, but it does randomly turn into a bigger budget Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus movie for a bit. It's not nearly as over the top and stupid and fun as that movie, but hey, something else to underwhelm the audience with. No actor really stands out, certain rivalries make no sense, and so many bad guys are stupid. Frankly, you're better off just watching a sci-fi movie. They're at least so bad that they're hilarious. This is just there. Statham punches a dude and blows up a CGI shark. If that's all you wanted in your movie, then I guess you're in a good spot. But if you wanted something more, why? This is a sequel to The Meg. Why would you want that? The correct answer is you wouldn't, and you wouldn't see this. My honest rating for The Meg 2, The Trench, a weak 3 out of 5. Come on! Gal Gadot is a spy who relies on an AI computer called the Heart to help her complete missions. In a twist, her friend Christian Grey is not really her friend and wants the Heart for himself. God damn it, dude. Gal Gadot really needs a win in this potentially Wonder Woman-less era that we're about to go into. And this isn't it. I love Gal, and she really is a lot of fun to watch. She's charming and badass, so I think she plays her role relatively well. However, that gravity is the only thing that keeps this movie's head above water, as the rest of it is so boring. With the exception of the opening neon parachute chase and the exploding Zeppelin scene, no action sequence really stands out. Rachel Stone's CIA allies in the beginning are portrayed as the worst spies to ever grace cinemas, and so many plot points feel contrived. There's cameos galore like Glenn Close and B.D. Wong, who do jack all in this. The villain's motivations make zero sense, like how did Parker know about the charter? How did he know about the heart? No answers. The charter makes no sense, as one would think that the spy organization that's considered a myth even to the CIA would have better protection for their all-important AI. But no, minimal security, little to no difficulty in retrieving it. I guess spy organizations are dumber than rocks in this universe. It's not the worst action movie I've ever seen, but having seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning recently, and it did its AI concept infinitely better than this was a chore to sit through. I love Gal. Immediately, I cannot hate this movie. But man, she really needs to pick better projects because, gosh, she's gonna fade into obscurity if not. Here's hoping that the next Fast and Furious does something with her. My honest rating for Heart of Stone, a weak 3 out of 5.
It's over, Kea. For who?
Ben Kingsley houses an alien that crash lands in his backyard and tries to keep him a secret along with a couple of his friends. It's cute. Ben Kingsley is obviously way overqualified for this, but for what it is, I enjoyed myself. If you're trying to apply real-world metrics to this thing, you're gonna have a bad time, especially in the beginning. There's a lot of, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? You know, characters not acting like regular people. If you're bothered by that in movies, you're not going to enjoy this, or it's going to take a lot for you to bounce back. Personally, I don't think that's the point. It's just about these three old people hilariously reacting to Jules and contemplating their lives as they dump their burdens on him, even though he doesn't understand a single word they're saying. Not a lot of it goes anywhere, if any of it, but you kind of get what the movie is going for. It's thematic. Jules represents different things for these characters. Accountability for less than savory life choices, or even coming to terms with age and saying goodbye. It's inoffensive, though will probably be forgotten amongst the sea of other films that came out this year. At the time of recording, it's not in theaters anymore, and it wasn't really begging to be seen in theaters. So if you find it on streaming, that's the best way to watch it. So yes, I do recommend it, especially if you want to watch something that's just simple and refreshingly not trying to be more than what it is. My honest rating for Jules, a 4 out of 5.
Good Christ, what is that?
You remember the spaceship? This is the little man who came out of it.
Jaime Reyes is a college graduate returning home to his downtrodden family. Seeking a job at a prestigious company, he's inadvertently roped into being the host for a sentient alien weapon that turns him into the Blue Beetle. This might be sacrilegious to say in a post-Henry Cavill is not playing Superman anymore world that we live in, but this wasn't half bad. I mean, it's not perfect, but it has its high marks. It's basically Iron Man, advanced armored suit hero, a big tech company that once made weapons but is now trying to be good, fights a janky but equally powerful armored villain, even right down to the villain having electric whips. The similarities are numerous. It definitely isn't better than Iron Man though. Most of the humor doesn't land, the sister can be annoying, and so much of the final act is contrived and trying to be cooler than it needs to be, and doesn't really succeed. In fact, some of the writing in general could have used an overhaul. I think Blue Beetle's powers should be more defined. I wish the Scarab Khajiit had a real personality. And I really hope that this Carapax dude doesn't ruin an eventual Black Beetle appearance. Kevin Graveau has to do the voice or I'm boycotting. With that said, I enjoy Jaime Reyes as a character. His connection to his family feels genuine and real. And how refreshing to see a superhero where the majority of his family knows he's a superhero. Fun fact. JJ Perry, who played Scorpion in Mortal Kombat Annihilation and Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat Conquest, was a second unit director for this movie. I thought that was pretty cool, man. Is it worth seeing though? It's up to you. I enjoyed it well enough, but that's all I can really say. My honest rating for Blue Beetle, a 4 out of 5.
Oh, I mean, come on.
My father said it can't be activated by just any person. It has to choose you. So I'm guessing it's chosen you.
Set after World War II, a former kamikaze pilot survives an encounter with a young Godzilla, only to see it become the large monster we all know and love and wreak havoc in Tokyo. Despite my cheesy summary, this is far and away the best Godzilla flick that I have ever seen, and now understand why Western versions of the monster are generally rejected. This is nothing like the MonsterVerse Godzilla we've seen the last nigh on 10 years, where they're popcorn action movies, not methodical, introspective creature features with something to say. The whole story is about a kamikaze pilot who faked having engine problems to not die with honor. When Godzilla first attacks, he was too scared of it that he couldn't shoot it down, and carries that survivor's guilt as he tries to rebuild his life with this young woman and the small child that she's caring for. But you always feel for him. You know why he does what he does, and you understand the consequences of his actions and how they affect those around him. Speaking of the big guy himself, what struck me most about Godzilla was the design of his eyes. They're crazy, man. Almost cartoonishly so when you get a real good look at them, but it hammered home that this isn't the Lone Ranger Godzilla that us filthy Westerners have adopted. This is your grandpappy's Godzilla. Your grandpappy who still looks like this. And boy howdy is the intimidation factor cranked up. Especially when it comes to his atomic breath, or as this movie calls it, his heat ray, which is a spectacle every time he uses it. What I also appreciate is the expert use of him. He's not in the movie a ton, but when he is, it's special and awe-inspiring. Maybe the ending cheapens some earlier emotional impact, but everything else is so damn good. People are calling this one of the best movies of the year, and I'm right there with them. This is fantastic and deserves to be seen. I feel like whether you're new to the kaiju genre or a veteran of the franchise, there's really no reason to not check this out. Highly recommended. My honest rating for Godzilla -1, a 5 out of 5. This space opera is about Sofia Boutella, a fugitive of the evil military she used to fight for, and is roped into saving the farming village she lives in and sets out to find protectors for the innocent. It's trying to be like Star Wars, but succeeds only at being closer to Jupiter's Ascending. If you remember that movie at all. The point is, it's not good. It wears its Star Wars influence on its sleeve. The farm girl getting caught up in an interplanetary conflict. But where Star Wars kept things simple and easy to follow, this is a bunch of gobbledygook that put me to sleep just as it's about to start. The only thing I had left to hope for was that the plot would help me. And it kind of did. Space Nazis, basically. Just like Star Wars, but these bad guys have Ed Skrein, who is admittedly one of my favorite elements in this movie, simply for how psycho he is and how much he loves being psycho. Then it just devolves into a wannabe video game that's all about recruiting person A, B, C, and D. It relies so much on its visual flair. That does certainly succeed in some ways, like the fight scene against the Spider Lady, which was awesome, but when the dust settles, I couldn't help but feel like this was a hollow experience and a blatant setup for the second flick. As previously stated, I can't help but love Ed Skrein. He's just so fun as a jerk, and I will never hate seeing Sofia Boutella. But both Anthony Hopkins and Djimon Hounsou were a waste. The story is needlessly complicated, and I'm not at all looking forward to part 2. I can't imagine this is getting much positive reception. No, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it doesn't captivate me. Yeah, eventually I'll see part 2, but no hype from me, man. My honest rating for Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, a weak 3 out of 5.
You asked how I know that they'll destroy you. That's what I would do.
Emma Stone has the mind of a child, but is learning at a fast rate. Eager to experience the world outside of her home with Willem Dafoe, she sets out with Mark Ruffalo, who just wants her. Hell of a way to end 2023. This is far and away the most bonkers, the most hypnotic, and very much one of the more self-indulgent movies of the year. The closest thing to a problem that I have with it is that the nudity and sex scenes get a little too gratuitous. I get the narrative reasons why they exist, but I swear, cut a few of them in half, the runtime would be shaved down to 2 hours as opposed to 2.5. But if that was my only problem with the movie, then it's a downright great one. And I'm happy to say that it is. Emma Stone as Bella Baxter is fantastic, perfectly encapsulating the differing stages of life, from toddlerhood to angsty teenager to worldly adult. Her awkward walking as a toddler, her adolescent sexual awakening, and her maturing into an adult that has her life figured out, for the most part. The support cast is incredible as well. Willem Dafoe as her surrogate father, Rami Youssef as her well-meaning wannabe husband, and Mark Ruffalo as her less than well-meaning douche lover who just wants to use her as a toy. All are great. The only thing more bizarre than the scenery and camera work is the writing. It's witty, giving the actors plenty to chew on, though not always necessarily funny. I won't pretend that there weren't funny moments. My favorite scene is when Ruffalo tries to drunkenly murder an old lady who isn't the least bit threatened by him, but where the script lacks in side-busting laughs, it makes up for in spades with being engaging and a satisfying overall story. It is so kooky, and that definitely helps it stand out compared to most everything that I've seen this year. It ain't perfect for my taste, but what a wild ride nonetheless. Highly recommended. My honest rating for Poor Things, a strong 4 out of 5.
I'm a changeable feast, as are all of we. Apparently, according to Emerson, disagreed with by Harry.
Come, just come.
Based on the manga series Saint Seiya, Seiya discovers that he has magical powers. He's supposed to protect Sean Bean's daughter, the resurrected Athena, the goddess of war. She may or may not destroy the world. Her mother, Jean Grey, tries to kill her before that happens. Yeah, it's schmaltzy and cheesy, a few too many commonalities with 2021's Mortal Kombat movie, but I'd be lying if I said that this wasn't a better version of that. I was teetering so much on whether or not I liked this, but I couldn't deny that despite the similarities, there was a shameless fast pace to the action sequences that made me wish this was how MK 2021 presented itself. There's so much flair to them. Aerial attacks, juggling, kind of inhuman speed when attacking, glowy people when they're all powered up. You get a few action sequences that are a visual feast, and so much wanton destruction. Also, oh my god, Nick Stahl. Boy, how you been? You looking healthy, man. Good to see you. Also, he is pretty fun as one of the side antagonists. Frankly, I was enjoying myself quite a bit. But yeah, I can't deny that the story itself is all over the place and is really cliched. It's yet another unsuspecting protag getting whisked away into adventure, starts off not liking the girl he's supposed to protect, but eventually gets closer, though thank God there's no romance. Certain plot beats are painfully predictable, and it ends pretty much how you think it's gonna end. A happier version of X-Men 3. Looking at you, FamK. I should probably point out that prior to writing this review, I had no idea that this was based on a manga at all. So, as an outsider looking in, my opinion is probably going to be in the vast minority. So of course I like it. But I say, if you're a fan of the original source material, don't bother. It's probably going to make you mad. If you're not familiar with it, then check it out. You might be the only people this will appeal to. My honest rating for Knights of the Zodiac, a strong 3 out of 5.
If you can't do this, you'll never be a knight.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.